Hey everybody, it is Rolly, and I am, for those of you who don't know who I am a holistic, um, I do that every time, like I forget who it is that I am. So I'm a holistic trauma coach and a anyway, you guys know who I am, so I'm just gonna leave it at that because like today my brain is just not there. So anyway, as some of you who may be following me on different social media or in different posts know that this week is mental illness awareness week, and so I have one of the things that I have done is that I have actually shared some of my personal experience with mental illness, and I'm going to continue to share my story a little bit further into the week as the week progresses. And so, but one of the things that I wanted to hop on and talk about is something that I've been talking about quite a bit lately. And the reason why I'm talking about it quite a bit is because it's come up a lot. It's come up a lot in different groups that I'm in different social atmospheres that I'm in my own personal groups that I'm facilitating. And so, including the group that I'm starting tonight, which is our Soul Sister Medicine is starting tonight. We're having our first session, and even within that group, anxiety is the most prevalent of all the symptoms, of all the situations that are going on for many people that I deal with, that I connect with, that I'm working with both professionally and in a group, like in other settings that we're actually in a working group together. And so I thought that I would actually hop on and talk a little bit about anxiety, about the anxiety and why is it. And so one of the strategies that I use most often, and the reason why I use it most often when I'm actually working with people who have anxiety and when I'm experiencing my own anxiety, is cognitive behavior therapy. And I use that because it is the most effective way of being able to deal with anxiety. And a lot of people will say, and not just anxiety, any kind of emotions. So the emotions that come up that you actually don't want to be dealing with. CBT is an amazing way of being able to get on top of being able to make changes to your emotions. And so in one of the programs that I've just recently started is the way that they actually explain the using CBT, which is the exact same thing, but they call it something different. So so Allison refers to as the thought model. And in theory, it's the same thing. So like there may be a few tweaks, that kind of thing that might be a little bit different. And I have to explore more into that. But I've started on a different module, so I haven't gone back to that particular module. But from the way that she's explained it during our live sessions is the exact same concept of CBT. So CBT is being able to, the way of being able to manage anxiety is being able to change your thoughts, and or if you're dealing with anger. So even though, like, my topic is anxiety, but even anger, like I've had clients that I've worked with that have said that we were dealing with some anger management stuff, and they'd say, well, I just get angry. It just happens. I just get anxious. It just happens, right? So it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. There is a million thoughts that go through our brain on a regular basis. And every day, every second, these hey Mimi and these thought processes happen all the time. So it's not just that it just happens. We have anxiety, or we have anger issues, or we have different emotions that come up because there's a thought that came into play to begin with. And so when you can actually get on top of your thoughts, then you can actually get on top of your being able to change the emotions, being able to change your reactions, being able to change the way that you actually do things. And so a few weeks ago, I did a program called Anxiety Stop. And during that 6 weeks we talked about specifically on how to be able to catch those thoughts. Catch those thoughts so that you can actually change those thoughts. If you can catch those thoughts then, and you can actually be able to understand those thoughts, breaking it down and then moving it into a different direction allows you to be able to really shift the way that you are reacting to things. And so like I said, so anxiety is a topic that has come up a lot. It's come up a lot in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different posts, in a lot of different shares, in a lot of communication. I've received it in emails. I've had different clients that have talked about it, and because it is very prevalent. So anxiety is normal. So everybody experiences anxiety. There is no one in this world that doesn't experience anxiety. So when you go to do a presentation, or when you go to hit the live button and you forget who you are or what you do, right, that is normal anxiety. So so I can't contribute that to part of anxiety disorder, because that is just nervous. That's just nerves of being able to kick in and kicking on that, pushing that button, and then going like, oh no, now I forgot what it is that I was going to say, right? So so just being able to be conscious of that, and being able to recognize that, and being able to notice what it is that's happening. So one of the techniques that I use with people is as part of the CBT training is using thought stopping. So when a thought happens, or when a thought occurs that is not helpful, then being able to like stop, right? So, and being very dramatic about it. It's like, stop. It is not true. It is not helpful. It is not. But one of the things that you need to be able to do is recognize, is it a thought? Is it an emotion? Or is it a behavior? So there's three different components of anxiety that you actually have to be able to break it down and figure out which layer is it. So when I first start with the with helping people with anxiety, the first 6 weeks, so using the and whether I'm doing this privately or I'm doing this in a group setting, it's the same concept. So I do the same thing, is that the first 6 weeks or for 6 sessions is all about being able to recognize those thoughts, being able to recognize what category do those things fit into, so that you can actually identify it. Because one of the things that happens most of the time when I'm actually working with people is that they will, when I tell them, okay, well, what's the thought? What's the automatic thought? What is the thought that's coming in, that's coming into play to affect your emotion? And 90% of the time, at first, people pick out behaviors or emotions. So they pick out the behaviors or the emotions as opposed to what the thought is. So even though they actually talk through and say what it is that they were thinking, they still pick out, when we ask them to pick out the thought, they still pick out the behavior of the emotion. And so I always redirect back to, okay, so yep, so that's a behavior or that's an emotion. Now what's the thought? And really breaking it down to being able to understand how that works. And so this is something that I've had a lot of people that have said, oh, you know what, CBT doesn't work. And when I hear that, one of the things that I challenge people is give it a shot. Give it 6 weeks of actually doing the work. Because if you give it at least 6 weeks of doing the work, by the end of that 6 weeks, which is why my initial program of Anxiety Stop is 6 weeks, is because it allows you to be able to really pick out and find those thoughts. Because if you can pick them out, you can change it. And if you can pick it out and change it, you're using CBT, or like Allison refers to, is the thought model. Because when you can change your thoughts, you can change your behavior, you can change your reaction. There's no other way of doing it. And I had a client who had participated in the 6 weeks of the Anxiety Stop, and one of the things that she said is like, it is amazing. And so even within the first 5 weeks of doing the work and doing the steps and practicing, is that when she got to week 5, there was a situation that was going on, and she was actually going into a situation that normally is very anxiety provoking for her. The situation itself is anxiety provoking, and then something else happened on top of that. And so she went to the situation that was actually causing the anxiety, knowing that this could potentially be a trigger, but she already knew. She was working on that, and she was trying really hard to be able to do that. And then something else happened. Something else happened that caused a trigger, that caused the anxiety, and she was able to catch the thought and be able to change the thought. And not only was she able to do that for herself, but she was also able to do that with the person that she was with. Because the other person who she was with, it wasn't anxiety, it was probably anger, frustration, disappointment. It was probably one of the other emotions. So it wasn't necessarily anxiety for that other person, but it was, she was able to catch the thought that was actually happening, and the thought was happening for both of them, right? So the thought was happening for both of them, their reactions were different. And so she was able to catch the thought and able to reframe the thought so that she could actually work through and still have a successful time during this event, during this time that she was actually going on. So it works. It really does work. And so as much as people get, and like I said, I hear often, it's like, oh no, it doesn't work. And the people who say, oh no, that it doesn't work, I can guarantee you that they're not following the steps, that they're not following the points of being able to catch those thoughts. Because, and even I've worked with some people who've had extreme anger issues, and so when we use this technique, even the people who immediately explode, that have that immediate reaction, when we get them to actually work through the process and slow things down so that they can pick out what it is that's happening in their thought process, they can catch their anger a lot quicker and a lot easier, and it works. And I know that it works. I have seen the results. I've seen the results with the most difficult, challenging people in the years that I've worked. And so, and like I said, like these people who have come to me, I've had clients that have come to me forced and mandated by probation. And if they don't do the program and they don't do the work, then what will end up happening is they don't meet their probation requirements, and then they're forced to go back. And so go back through the system. And so that is one of the things that, so even these most challenging, most difficult clients have had success in being able to use this strategy. If you can catch your thoughts, you can change your behavior, you can change your reaction, and you can change your emotions. So your thoughts is what it is that controls everything. Everything that happens in your thought process is what it is that is going to make a difference. So for those of you who have experienced CBT or have experienced different ways of, like I said, different ways of being able to use that title. So like I said, Allison refers to it as the thought model, but it's still the same concept of being able to, like, how can you change your thoughts? If you can recognize your thoughts, you can change your behaviors. And so who else has had that experience? And please, if you're comfortable, share it in the group about how you're able to catch your thoughts. Have you used this strategy? Have you not used the strategy? Have you tried using the strategy and it's not worked? So I am inviting you to give me some feedback. Give me some feedback on whether or not this is helpful, whether or not this has worked, and if you'd like to have some more information about it. So let me know. So I will talk to you later. Bye for now.